everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Public Opinion with your host, Pam Morton. I cannot believe I am in season 12 already. Season 12. I have done so many different shows. I have brought so much information to the community. I have been so excited and so happy to do this show, and I look forward to being able to do many, many more. We're coming off of Mother's Day, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. I do recognize that if your mother is not still here, it was a very sad time, or for mothers whose children are not here anymore. But I certainly hope that you continue to keep their memories and spirits in your heart and let that guide you. We are in May, and I cannot believe that it's May already. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's what I'm going to be talking about on the show today is mental health awareness. I have two very dynamic guests, and I'm excited to hear the conversation that we're going to have about mental health. So let's get started and meet our guests. But before that, I do want to remind you that if you enjoy watching this show, make sure you continue to follow us on YouTube and Facebook, as well as to like and subscribe. So let's meet our guests. First, we have Shanice Lockhart. A counselor, an educator, and an advocate are amongst the roles Shanice Lockhart holds in her professional and personal journey. Shanice currently serves as a professional clinical counselor at the Black Mental Health Corporation, an adjunct instructor at Malone University, interim president of Ohio Counselors for Social Justice, and a co-leader of the youth department at the Prodigal Son Father's House. Next, we have John Flowers. Mr. Flowers has worked in the profession as a social worker for 14 years. He presently is a mental health therapist with the Black Mental Health Corporation. He has worked with juveniles, veterans, seniors, and couples. So let's welcome our guests. Thank you all both so much for agreeing to be participants on the show this week. I do believe that this is a very important subject that we're going to be talking about this week. And it wouldn't be the Public Opinion Show if I didn't have a public opinion question of the week. So the question is, and this is a very simple question, but it might foster a whole lot of dynamic responses. The question is mental health. How can we break the stigma? And the stigma in our Black and brown communities as well as across the board. So I want to give each of you the opportunity just to give a very quick answer to that, and then we're going to have a discussion about it. So I believe in ladies first. So you can go ahead and have 2 minutes to answer that question. Thank you.
All right, yeah, so to break the stigma, I think a lot of people are afraid to speak about mental health. So I think the first way to break it is to talk about it. You know, if people aren't speaking on mental health, then it's hidden, you know, or they're ashamed of it. So I think having forums like this is a great way to break the stigma, and talking about it in our communities, talking about in our churches, our schools, making sure the places where people are, they're talking about mental health.
Okay, so just making sure you have a dialogue.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, Mr. Flowers, go ahead.
My perspective is a little different. I believe the way we break the stigma is through talking about it, word of mouth. I mean, that's how the stigma is. That's how it goes. We created it like that. In our families, in our homes, in our communities, you speak to someone about going to mental health or dealing with mental health. It's like, oh, we don't do that. They do that, this do that, they do that. And I think the only is on us as providers. So when we have people come in, I think we challenge the stigma with all of the things we mentioned, you know, with education and all of those other things. I think that's the challenge that gets people in. But I think to break that stigma, we have to be excellent at service. When they come in, we have to provide people what they came looking for. You know what I'm saying? We have to provide them the best care. If they want help, we have to help them. I think that is very important, and I think it's important from the door all the way through service to exiting service. I think it's all important, all encompassing. That way, when you do have those conversations in the home, in the community, and everybody's saying, don't do, there's somebody there to say, oh no, that's not true. I went, this helped me. This provider, that provider, these people I saw, they helped me. So it has to go through our community in that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I like what both of you said, because you said that we have to talk about it, and you said we have to listen, because, and I think both of those are very important. And that's why to break the stigma, you do have to talk about it. And I was talking to Mr. Flowers before we got started, and my perspective has always been that I believe that mental health should be just as important as taking care of our physical health. And if we require children to have routine examinations and go to the doctor before they start school or whatever, I think that there needs to be routine mental health assessments or evaluations that are done. And so I think if that's made to be routine across the board with everybody, then there wouldn't be the stigma. I mean, just think about it. Is there a stigma that says you shouldn't take your child to the doctor if your child is sick, or just for a routine exam, or for a routine, immunization, or whatever they're going for? But no, it's a routine. Everybody's used to that. And so I think if you normalize it more, then you can kind of get rid of the stigma. But I want both of you still to touch on and expound more on it. And together too, either the listening part and the talking about it. Both of you all work for, and if you want to explain about this company, it's the Black Mental Health Corporation. I had never heard of that, but I was like, okay, because especially amongst our communities, we don't really focus a lot on our mental health. So can you just explain what you all do there?
Yes, of course.
And specifically what you do.
Yes, of course. The Black Mental Health Corporation, located in the Shaker Square. We provide services to the Black and Brown community, but of course we do not discriminate. If anybody is willing and needing therapy, we will not turn anybody away if they don't qualify to be in part of the Black African American community. But we are specialized because we understand our culture. So some people who are used to being stigmatized for mental health, like, Black people don't do therapy. They're like, oh, you got to go to church and pray about it. You ain't got to go to therapy. Just talk to Jesus. So that's really something common. So that way, when people come into us, they're seeing the multicultural perspective, because people are saying like, oh, well, they're a believer and they're a therapist, or they also know where I'm coming from and what I've been used to as far as my parenting, or my upbringing. They know how Black people are typically raised, or how they congregate in their communities or congregate in their churches, so they can give additional perspective on top of the therapy. So a lot of people are looking for that community, someone who can understand them and know where they're coming from.
Oh, that is wonderful. And like I said, I had never heard of it. And I said that is very much needed in our communities. So tell me, how does a person come? Do they just come in off the street, or word of mouth, or can they get referred there from a doctor, or what?
So referrals are very common. We do get referrals from hospitals. If someone goes to, university or Cleveland Clinic, say, I really want a Black therapist. Oftentimes we'll get phone calls. So we get referrals that way, or you can just call in. Some people just search us on Google. I usually ask my clients, well, how'd you hear about us? Like, Google search.
Oh, really? And so now, do you all take insurance? Or?
Yeah, they take, they take like the care source insurances, the government insurance, and they also take, some private insurances. So you can call in and see what is available, and then they will work with you.
That is wonderful. And now, so Mr. Flowers, what is it that you do specifically?
Specifically, I am a therapist. My focus is primarily on trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, and cognitive behavioral therapy. That's what we do. What do I focus on? Helping people change the way they think. That's really, I take a real focus on perspectives, how we view this world, how we view our situations, how we view our problems, whatever it is we're facing, how we're viewing it, how we're looking at it, and try to create new narratives for whatever it is you're dealing with in your life, however that may be. Expectations. I do a lot with expectations, because I believe expectations create a lot of problems. We have expectations that we may set way out here or way back here. And we learn how to manage those expectations, identify what it is we're expecting. A lot of people come in and they'll say, I don't have any expectations. I go to work, I just want to check. So then the next question is, so Why do you have a problem with how everything's going? Well, I just want to check. Well, don't you get your check? Yeah, well, let's talk about it. I get my check, but, so you do have expectations. Well, I never looked at it like that. Okay, well, let's look at it like that. Let's see what those expectations are. Because a lot of times we are having problems because our expectations are not being met.
Yes, I was just about to say that. I think a lot of people, that is what puts a lot of people into a depressed state or a state of anxiety, is because they may have expected this to have happened in their life by now, or they are disillusioned by what they thought was going to be, and it didn't turn out that, whether it be a relationship or anything. So I really like that.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And so do most of the people that you see come in based upon some trauma or urgency, or because they just believe they want to be one step ahead in their mental health care?
Yeah, I would say I've seen there's diversity, because Black people are not monolithic, so we see diversity even within the people that come in. I've seen people who have dealt with severe traumas, and I've dealt with people say, like, I just lost my job, and I really just want to process where I'm supposed to go next in life, and I want to dialogue that with somebody. So that in itself really does kind of break the stigma, because you don't have to come when you're just in a severe state.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they're coming in for multiple reasons. So don't think that just because you're coming to therapy is because you're in a severe crisis, or your whole world is crumbling. Sometimes you want to do that to prevent those things from getting worse. So therapy is good as a prevention instead of just intervention.
I think the millennials and the Gen X and the Gen Zers really understand that.
Yes, they
because
do.
My daughter has taught me a lot about that. My daughter, she goes regularly to a therapist, and she's like, Mom, I go to therapist because it makes me feel good. I don't know why other people don't go more to therapy. There's nothing wrong with talking to somebody, and I think that's important to really drill home and let people know. Even you don't have to have something urgent going on necessarily. If you just feel like maybe you need somebody to talk to, and I think that would help prevent a lot of the problems, because I'm a magistrate, by day, and a lot of the cases that I see on the case plans, I would say, maybe 75 to 80% of the services on our case plan, mental health.
Wow.
Mental health. And the reason I think is because a lot of times people have mental health issues and they try to self-medicate. And like you said, because people are like, just go talk to Jesus, or somebody will say, in my day we just, got over it, or that type of thing. And so people are trying to figure out, okay, how can I get over it?
Yes.
So they may take a drink, or they may smoke a joint, or do whatever they're doing, but then when they find that doesn't help, then they take more of it, and then they end up in situations of crises that trickle down to domestic violence, and then they have substance abuse issues, and then they end up, not being able to care for their children properly.
Yes, very true.
So that's another reason why I think it's so important. So what do you all think about my stance on that? Because I'm very, very passionate about the belief that we got to get over this stigma by normalizing mental health. So what do you all both think about that?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all that we have to normalize it. How do we do that?
Right.
I think is just what you said. Your daughter, she's taught you a lot. And this goes back to my initial point. Has she gone into therapy and it been a terrible experience? Her whole
Perspective.
everything would have been different. Her complete perspective would have been totally different. And so that possibly takes away from this person, that person, because that's what we say. So I think the people have to normalize it. I think we can put it out there, we can advertise it, we can educate, but unless we testify, we end up with nothing but a lot of paperwork and all that kind of stuff. We put it all out there. The testimony is the thing. That's what we need. So I believe, again, I'll go back to my original thing. We are responsible, I think, for helping to break it You know what I'm saying? Us
Right.
as therapists,
Yeah.
wherever that may be, whether it's in a hospital or, wherever we are in the healthcare system and whatever we're doing, we have to be dynamic. We have to serve the people that come to see us and give them positive experiences to share with others.
good.
And as we talk and tell and, I think
that's excellent.
I
That
agree.
is an excellent point.
It is.
But the thing is, in order to get the testimony, you have to get in there
Yes.
in the first place.
Now that-
And that's the thing. You got to make sure that people feel comfortable enough to even. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who, not only is it a stigma, but you're kind of afraid because it's like, do I have something wrong with, it's like, or is this normal, or, that type of thing. So I think we need to, and I love what you said about talking and listening, because we need to, if you feel like something is off, then I think you need to, not be afraid to tell somebody, I'm just feeling a little off, and then not feel like people are going to be like, well, what's wrong with you? You ain't never said nothing like that before, or, that type of thing, So, what do you think needs to be done so that people won't feel, kind of apprehensive about the whole thing?
Yes, I really like when I have people who are in like Generation X and the baby boomers that do come in, and they said like they felt something was off, and I was like, I felt it too long, and I knew I had to do something. And they tried other methods. They may have tried substances, they may have tried talking to their family, but their family wasn't healed. So it's like they finally come to the therapist who is going to give that dynamic perspective to help them see their world from a different view. And I think that's something that is really important, that, giving a different perspective to people. And then also just the way we advertise, too. Sometimes if we look around, the world comes away. Everything's advertised as a problem. So I think we have to try to shift the view a little bit now, that it's not just, okay, people are, again, in crisis, or if they're dealing with, thoughts to harm themselves. Like, this is something that can be a maintenance thing. So I really do think the perspective has to shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Like I said, it's the maintenance.
Yeah.
We have to take care of ourselves. And like you said, especially in our communities, we have to let each other know, hey, it's okay. I had a good experience. I went to a therapist. Nothing wrong with it. You should go see some. I tell people sometimes. I had a friend, I said that too, and she was like, I don't know, I'll just work through it. It's like, well, if you have a mechanism or something that you can, or a person that you can go to, then, why not utilize it? But I just think that it's just important to continue to talk about this and to make sure people know that it's okay. Now, and this is, either one of you can answer this, are there certain signs or symptoms that people can look for, either in themselves or in somebody else, where you might say, okay, maybe you may need to go and talk to somebody?
boy, that's loaded.
Seriously, how do you kind of really know?
I'm going to tell you what I'm having a difficulty with right now, with that question. Not with the question, but with what's happening. Social media and all this stuff available on the internet, too much self-diagnosing. So much self-diagnosing. So I'm hesitant to say, without specifics as to what kind of signs to look for, because, you would not believe the way, well, I read this, I seen this, and I have this.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I do that a lot. Anytime I feel
I
Google something, I'll Google a symptom in a minute, and then when I see something, I'm okay. I'm waiting for my arm to fall off.
And it's not that, it's not that serious. And then it's hard to get people out of that. It's hard to get people, because they've read it, they've seen it, they think they understand, so now you have to educate, really educate. And you have to understand the experience. So while educating, you have to educate with compassion. You know what I'm saying? Empathy, understanding. That's the way you have to educate, because they really believe what they've read.
And you know what? I like also, you're mentioning the social media with our young people. And that has become a whole issue in and of itself.
It has.
With the bullying, with the, and just the whole nature of social media, because you have likes. And so when people see that they didn't get a lot of likes, then they start internalizing some of that and feeling like, well, maybe they don't like me, or they don't like what I said. And then you start thinking back about all of the things where, you know, where we used to just have normal conversations with people that you could actually see. And now we, you know, back and forth with people you don't know really. You're calling people your friends who really are not, you know, these are your friends. You want them as a friend. You know, it's like, you know, they're not necessarily your friends. Or people can put things out. So it's created a whole new subsection of issues to the point that now people are suing, you know, Facebook and all these social media, right? What else is that? TikTok and Instagram. You know, people are saying that the kids are addicted, and I'm like, so that's a whole nother field.
Yeah,
you know?
another ball game that us therapists have to now tackle, because with each changing generation, there are more problems that resurface. And to the point you were saying, like, not wanting to label it, but I know if you're going to get a diagnosis, go to someone who's licensed, professional. You know, don't diagnose yourself. Something to be clinically significant. We are licensed to diagnose something that is clinically significant, and usually it's going to impact your social relationships, your work, academics, and personal life. So usually a clinically significant diagnosis is going to impact those areas.
Yes, that's so important. Don't try to do that self-diagnosis or the self-medicating either. You know, so those are all things you have got to stay away from. So now, are there any things that you all want to say just on your own that you think are very important about this whole mental health crises that we're experiencing now?
I'll say one thing, just to piggyback off the social media. I think that's the next big crisis coming.
If it's not already here.
Well, I think it's here. It's just not, I don't know how to say it, but it's just not here yet. But
it's going to amplify.
Yes, it's going to amplify, yes. It's going to be something, and these aren't just my words, but similar to the way crack destroyed. I see it, this is as that, because it's bad.
It's an epidemic.
It's bad. Yeah, it's an epidemic. What I would like to say to people, take a shot, come in. If you're feeling any kind of way, if you're uncomfortable, I know from the George Floyd to the pandemic, boy, people just lost their way. Just didn't know where to go, how to go, with all of those things. And if you're feeling any of that, just come and sit down and talk to somebody. It's okay. You don't have to feel like you're crazy, like something's terribly wrong. I have a lot of people who are just, I love the young people who are coming in, because they're just trying to find their way through life right now. And they are not afraid to come in. They are saying, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. I can't take this. I don't.
And that's a good, I'm glad to hear
absolutely.
that.
It's a beautiful thing. So they are coming in, and we are doing good work with helping them change perspectives, you know, change their narratives, and manage their expectations. This is really what I do. I'm really big on that, and so we're helping them really manage their expectations, get their plans together for college, and this and that. I have students, young ones, that come in, and I don't bring your homework. They don't understand. They're in school, and so what's the problem in school? You're acting out. I don't be understanding that. Bring it to me.
I love that. I really think that there should be something done right before young people go away to college or something, or when they graduate even, because you're going into a whole different world.
It's a big transition.
And then you have anything you want to say?
Yes, I would say a lot of times I tell my clients that you're not just healing for you, you're healing for the generations. So just know that, you know, you taking that step into therapy, even if you've had a bad therapist, because I've had clients that told me, like, I've had bad experiences, I don't want to go again. They told me, like, you were my last stop.
Oh, wow.
And that really, you know, impacted me. It's like, you know what, well, I'm glad you found me, you know, because I don't want this to be the end of your journey. So you're healing for yourself, but you're also healing for the generations before you and after you. People are going to see a light in you. and people are going to be healed through you.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you both so very much. I think this has been very enlightening. I hope that you all have learned a lot. The audience as well appreciates you, and thank you again so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, yay. Now I do I enjoy the conversation that we have. This is such a very important conversation to have because we are having a mental health crisis in this country. And the only way that we can really tackle it and alleviate it is to normalize mental health, to talk about it, and to listen to people. So if you are feeling like you need to get help, please reach out to a mental health care professional. If you feel thoughts of any type of suicide or anything, contact the National Suicide Hotline. So we are so happy. I'm so happy that I had this discussion. If you enjoy watching this show, continue to follow me on Facebook as well as YouTube. And if you cannot watch the show, listen on the go wherever you get your podcasts. So until next time, I'll see you for another episode of Public Opinion. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.